Welcome all to Licensing International's virtual roundtable series. My name is Sharon Weissman, and I will get some housekeeping rules out of the way, or shall I say table manners. But first, make sure you're comfortable. Go grab a snack, a beverage, hand sanitizer, whatever you need, or putz around with the chat box feature on the right-hand side, so we can get settled in and start in a couple of minutes. 2 minutes to go. Do what you need to do. Thank you all so much for being here, and I'm serious, sincere gratitude. After all, these are times with content overload clashing with our limited human capacity. And another thing at Licensing International that we take very seriously is your feedback. One of the most requested topics on our post roundtable surveys reveal that consumer packaged goods, CPGs, food, beverages, cosmetics, and cleaning products in particular are what we all want to hear about, and how these are being violently impacted by the COVID-19 era. Another request that kept on coming up is to hear from experts outside and beyond the licensing industry. So here we are. We gathered a versatile, sharp, high-level group of experts to discuss trends that they're seeing, brainstorm hot topics, and serve practical advice right to your table. Well, virtual table. And there's so much relevant content, tools, and resources on our website, www.licensinginternational.org. So make sure you take advantage of everything we offer right now to stay connected, engaged, and informed. One thing is for sure, we'll always, till the end of time, want to make sure that we're healthy, well, and beautiful. So everything we're going to do in the world right now depends on brands selling so much more than a product. Let's do this. Housekeeping. Attendees, your webcam is off and you're muted. Now, let's all go find the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. You can shift that entire box and minimize it, but find that tab labeled questions or chat. It's within the text bubble icon. You do it? It should all say chat and questions, and now you can set it to organizers only. So drop that drop box and choose organizers only so your questions are funneled directly to us. For the next 45 minutes or so, I urge you to forget about the emails piling up, ignore the dings of the Teams and the Slack, and enjoy a meaningful, current, and relevant live conversation about things that are affecting us right now. We encourage you to ask questions throughout the session. Feel free to type questions during the conversation. We might even call on you if it makes sense. And we'll be opening the conversation for panelists to answer audience questions in the last 15 minutes or so of the conversation. Panelists, I won't get into behavioral expectations because A, we are all adults, B, Steve literally has the power to mute us all behind the scenes. The only rule to keep in mind is respond and don't react. Mind your table manners, which I all know you will do because we want to hear the conversation. So without further ado, a huge thank you to our panelists, and it's a pleasure to introduce our moderator, Daniel Abner, CEO of MDR Brand Management, who will orchestrate this event. Dan, it's all yours.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for wherever you are in the world. And welcome to the latest installment of the Licensing International webinar series. Today, we are hoping for a lively debate around the topic COVID-19, CPG, we make consumers feel good. And today we're really going to focus on a couple of sectors, food and beverage and health and beauty. But I'm sure, knowing the licensing community, we're going to go far and beyond that to far-reaching places if time allows us to do so. But on a serious note, these two categories have not only ridden the wave of COVID, but are actually thriving in most cases through the consumer demand for well-being and health through the pandemic crisis. Whether that's through healthy eating, or looking good through a plethora of daily Zoom calls, the need to feel good at home has never been greater. And it's also been supported very much by innovation, not necessarily new product innovation, although that has happened, but also how beauty and food and beverage brands, restaurants, pubs and bars have totally reinvented themselves and their business models, and how and why they're communicating with their consumers through social commerce and other brand building strategies. There's also a really strong debate building that brands without meaning will no longer be essential, that without authenticity, a clear methodology and purpose, that those brands will wane over time. And I think probably now is the greatest time ever to have that conversation. The food and beverage sectors have seen some incredible innovation over the past 3 to 5 years, but COVID-19 has had a diverse impact in consumer buying patterns and behavior. On one side, we see consumers taking a large swing back to old, familiar, trusted brands. I think Campbell's has been mentioned quite recently. And is that because consumers are running into the store and trying to get out as quickly as possible and just grabbing the most recognizable brand that they can see on shelf safely? Or is it because that brand actually really makes them feel good through this pandemic? And conversely, consumers are shunning the big corporates and choosing more artisan brands that support their local community. And they are building direct relationships with manufacturers and indeed brand owners, and thus driving the boom of the direct-to-consumer retail model during this COVID lockdown period. So there's certainly a lot to talk about, but before we get started, I wanted to introduce you to our panel of experts who will help us drive the debate, challenge the norm, and get us closer to why CPG has made us feel good during the COVID crisis. And I guess what's more importantly, what the future holds for these categories as consumers begin to return to some form of normality, whatever actually that may be. So in no particular order, I would like to introduce Hamutal Schieber. Hamutal, would you like to introduce yourself for us?
Sure. So good morning, good afternoon to everyone. I'm Hamutal Schieber. I'm the CEO and founder of Scheiber Research, a market research company. I've 20-something years of experience researching consumer marketing and competitive trends in consumer goods, CPG, FMCG industries, and retail. I've been working with international companies here in the US, where I'm located, as well as Israeli international companies. And I would love to speak to you about megatrends and the microtrends following COVID-19.
Thank you. Next up, Charlotte Clisby.
Hi everyone, I'm Charlotte from Attachments. We are one of Europe's fastest growing entertainment agencies, and I head up our licensing and attachment, and specifically working with talent and celebrities on their licensing programs.
Thank you, Charlotte. Moving on now to Lorna Mitchell on the virtual sofa.
Hello. Hi, I'm Lorna from the Beauty Creative. Hi. I spent the first 10 years of my career in beauty and fashion licensing, and the last 10 in branded beauty, working on both product development and brand building for natural and sustainable brands. I'm co-founder of a hair care brand, a natural hair care brand called Naughty, which is a results-based, performance-led natural brand offered to consumers at a value for money price. I'm delighted to say it's now in 14 countries. It launched in 2016 and it's won 40 awards. Most recently, I've set up the Beauty Creative, which is a beauty innovation consultancy that really puts authentic purpose at the heart of brand innovation strategies, whether they're licensed brands or non-licensed brands, whether they're new brands or old brands and they need reinvention.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, and very much that we do need a lawyer in the room, I'd like to introduce Sally Britton.
Yeah, hi, thanks Daniel, and hi everyone. So yes, you do have to have a lawyer in the room, I'm afraid, but I wasn't always a lawyer. The first 6 years of my career, actually, I worked in brand management and then switched over. I work at Mishcon. I'm a partner in the intellectual property group there, and my focus is brand protection. So I develop and deliver international brand strategies for clients across all sectors, and particularly beauty, and a number of clients pivoting at the moment. So yeah, thanks for having me on the panel.
Thank you. Right, I think introductions have been done. I think the scene has been set. I'm going to open with our first question, which is, how has social commerce impacted CPG brands during this lockdown period? And sort of the second point to that really is, how can brands get better at storytelling? And I'm not going to go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, but I'm going to ask Charlotte maybe to kick us off on that particular question, and then we'll go around to the rest of the panelists.
Yeah, definitely. I think really interestingly at the moment is the whole social commerce boom that we're currently seeing. Obviously, consumers, they can't get out and they can't go about their normal daily life when it comes to their shopping habits, either because they are anxious or too scared about catching or spreading the disease, but also those shops aren't open at the moment, and certainly here in the UK, they can't get out and they can't shop and they can't have that face-to-face interaction with the products. So because of that, I think obviously they're turning to online, where they're having to make up for that loss that they're not able to do. So I think because of that, we're then seeing a knock-on effect with brands having to pivot really quickly and work out what their strategy is going to be in terms of communicating and connecting and keeping that relationship with their consumers going. And social media is the most obvious platform to do that. You know, we already can see that engagement and usage of those platforms is through the roof at the moment. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, they're all reporting, you know, huge increases in terms of engagement with old users coming back that perhaps haven't been on a social platform for a long while, that are actually having to come back and use that platform right now just to feel connected or to interact with those brands. So I think what we're seeing now is brands are recognizing that. And so they're really having to focus on a social commerce strategy right now and build that into their overall digital strategy, and know that they can actually sell their products, you know, to their consumers using social media. And I think it's really important as well in terms of what I mean by that social commerce. I think there's a bit of grey area as to what social commerce actually means. I look at it very much as two phases of social commerce. So phase one is very much your, you know, link in bio, use my promo code or whatever it might be, but selling very basically through social media. However, if you look over the past few months, we've seen Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, a lot of these platforms really taking social commerce to a whole new level where you can actually purchase inside of social media. So during COVID-19 era, we've actually seen TikTok launch their Shop Now button, and we saw Levi's use that, where you could actually purchase from inside a TikTok video that an influencer had posted. And you can see Instagram with their Shop Now, Buy Now, where you can click inside the videos and click inside pictures. And we've heard that Facebook Shop, they're launching that soon as well. It's something that they're trialing at the moment, again, so that you can sell directly from Facebook. So I think people have had to really fast track that and incorporate that into their digital strategies right now, especially when it comes to those products that we use every day.
Yeah, and again, I think what we're noticing is outside of the commerce piece, that brands are actually creating content for pure entertainment, and perhaps Hamutal, you might have a view on how that's working and retaining customer loyalty and driving people then to the commerce piece, because I mean, I think TikTok's probably a great platform to do that, where there's no commerce involved, but the brand is creating genuinely great stories and just fun interactions with consumers.
Sure. So first of all, TikTok indeed is trending in this era, and also I don't think it's about just fun engagement. It's really becoming something else. I do want to talk about two things. One of them is shoppability, which Charlotte just mentioned. Shoppable content, buy now buttons, etc., which are very important going forward. But the other thing that happens on social commerce and is unique to social commerce, and we can see that on e-commerce regularly, is the whole, first of all, influencing creators as influencers, and the second thing is consumer to consumer. Two megatrends that brands have to take note of, because this is the real meaning of social commerce. Let's not address social commerce like we used to do with digital advertising, just placing a banner or buy now or something like that. It's a different DNA, social commerce, and we have to understand that. So when brands work with social platforms, they do have to remember that they are guests in the platforms. They should use the creators' content. And of course, today, this is something a bit tricky, as we all know from working with ambassadors in the past or brand representatives. But this time, it's not only about who delivers the message, but also the content itself. If we chose to work with an influencer or creator, we have to use their language and their content, because they are the ones who know how to engage the consumers. So I do want to point out that social commerce and any brand advancement towards consumers in this sphere has to take note of the fact that we are guests and we are using the influencers to deliver our message.
Okay, and then really specifically in the beauty sector, Lorna, have you seen that trend transcending across into beauty, and how does that play into some of the projects that you've been working with or have picked up on?
Yeah, so we've actually seen, alongside the power of the influencer within beauty, we've seen the power of science-based experts to tell the story with a very authentic and transparent perspective, and through a lens of real science. So telling stories and creating the narrative around the product that comes from a really authentic place and is very much backed by science. So, for example, at Naughty, we actually engage a beauty botanist to help devise not only some of our product strategies, but also to tell the narrative of our ingredients, where they're sourced from, and the narrative of the product as well. And we have found there to be really increased reception to that during the lockdown period, because people are looking for science-backed ingredients and science-backed products, not least from a sustainability perspective, but also from a hygiene perspective as well. So we found that's very, very effective. Also, the acceleration of AI and VR as a means for sort of testing, discovery, and customization of products. And in fact, I read a statistic this morning that said brands who are engaging with AI are doing 7 times more business than others. So you can really see sort of the value of that. But we're also seeing a shift in the need to change your online narrative and make it not only about product, but to build a brand ecosystem around that product that really helps the consumer engage in a different way with the product. So really focusing on delving deeper around the sensorial elements of a product and the experiential elements, things like texture, things like fragrance of a product, using very evocative language and creating a real visual identity for a product that extends beyond the product itself. Yeah, so lots of different things coming through there in beauty.
Okay, and just picking up on some of the science bit from a legal perspective. I mean, obviously, there's lots of testing, and the FDAs and the equivalents in other markets. Sally, is there any specific legal points that, because obviously big product claims could backfire in terms of proof of concept, and there've been a number of cases where that's shown. Is there anything, any watch outs that we should be noting?
Okay, so the first thing I'd say is just the big challenge about social engagement is that the laws are set by territory. So you've got the UK position, you've got another position in the US, and there are some consistencies, but that's one of the big challenges, is the fact that you're going to have to approach a very international space with very different kind of regulations in place. But certainly you should be very cautious about making any claims, because obviously there's the Advertising Standards Authority in the UK, there's equivalents in other jurisdictions that will easily challenge them. And equally, if you are engaging with anyone, influencers, scientists, you do need to make sure that you're controlling. Brand protection is all about controlling the output. You have an agreement with them, and you have the ability that if, say, for example, it might be that their research was entirely legitimate, but actually something comes out that discredits it, that you need to have the ability to take that down straight away to try and limit the damage effectively. So controlling it, I think having a contract in place is really essential.
Yeah.
Okay. And then outside of that, outside of, this is another beauty question, so sorry, Lorna, I'm going to put you back on the spot again, but outside of sanitizer and sanitizing wipes, which is basically what we've all been using for the last 12 weeks and have chapped hands and cracked fingers and everything else because they're washing our hands 50 times a day, are there any sort of key trends within the beauty sector that's kind of emerging and sort of post-COVID that's sort of driving new consumer behavior and buying patterns outside of the science piece?
Yeah, so, well, there's lots, but actually a lot of that behaviour, a lot of those trends that we're seeing starts with consumer behaviour, some of which you've touched on. So things like the hygiene culture that's very much coming through from consumers, which is driving the anti-bac and the increase in hand sanitizer products, but it's also driving what's being called the premiumisation of the hand care sector. So basically where hand care is becoming absolutely premiumised through better value products, but also through products that are delivering way more than the original hand care products that we're used to. Then also the fact that consumers have got a lot more time to spend on self-care. So we're obviously seeing this real rise in self-care products, and I know Hamutal's probably got a lot that she can share with us on that. But in addition, the use of safety masks, so that's driving some of the trends as well. So we've got mask beauty coming through, which is where consumers are focusing more on the eyes and less on the lips, because obviously people are wearing masks outside now a lot more. And then the home becoming almost like a self-care hub, and as well as a workspace. So things like blue light technology. So from us being on our devices all day long, we're seeing this shift towards blue light protection within skincare, for example. And then, of course, well-being and immunity. So the need to really build and focus on immunity-based products in regards to our well-being. So we've got the rise of things like supplements, and then with hair care, more functional products like dry shampoos, which of course, when we're all at home, we tend to be washing our hair less, but functional products within hair care are still performing very well, because you've got things like treatment-based products, so people have got a lot more time to spend treating both their skin and their hair, so masking much more than perhaps they did before. And then this idea that the bathroom has become a space for consumers to take themselves away from everything else that's happening in the home, be that their partner's working, be that the kids and their schooling. And so this need to sort of scent the bathroom and actually make the bathroom a space that's really about you, and much more almost like your own personal spa, because of course we're not getting to visit the spas as we did before. So we've also seen things in general like a decline in colour cosmetics overall, though, I would say, because people are effectively wearing less makeup than they did before, and also a decline in fragrance, because people are spraying much less than they did before in their own home environment. So lots there, lots on the ingredient side. So adaptogens coming through. So adaptogens are there to really help the body adapt to stress. So they're coming through both on the supplement side in the well-being space, but also in the beauty space as well. And then we touched on this already, but community commerce and lots about peer-to-peer recommendation when it comes to beauty products, and people really looking to their friends and their family to make recommendations. And then also kind of how brands are communicating their products, so how the messages that they're delivering about the product. We're seeing a big trend there to much more talk around safety and in a very transparent way, and also around purpose. So giving consumers a reason to believe and a reason to purchase their products. And that's because values are becoming also much more important within sort of the beauty arena. So whether that's clean beauty, whether that's sustainability, whether it's just trust, and whether it's community-led brands, I think those values are really taking the forefront.
Okay, and then I know, Hamutal, you were nodding vigorously, so noting that you might have a few things to add to that comment. And I think just generally, it very much tied into Charlotte's opening comments around social commerce and that side of things. But Hamutal, was there anything that you wanted to add to that point specifically?
Yeah, so definitely, you know, we see vegan beauty, clean beauty, as Lorna mentioned, because of the need for purpose, and also clean now gets a whole new meaning. So, you know, it's going to resonate with consumers more. So clean beauty, we talked about, you know, clean label and less is more, etc. But now it's going to be, you know, another whole world of clean products. I do think that nutraceuticals, as Lorna mentioned, supplements and any functional beauty or consumables actually is going to be a huge opportunity as consumers redefine wellness and skin health as one of their, you know, major goals today. I do think we will see some trading up because of, you know, recession, recessionary behavior, let's say, and also because people can't go out to dermatologists and spas, they will be trading up at home. We do see that consumers are saying, you know, 75% of them in a recent BCG study, they said that they will be spending the same as they do today on skincare, but only 60% said so about beauty. So we do know that, you know, skincare is of the utmost importance to consumers today because they can't get injections, they can't go to, you know, to spas. So we do see that, but also, you know, we always talk about the lipstick effect in recession, the fact that people do want to look beautiful and they will splurge on lipstick. So now with a mask, we might see that shifting, you know, towards eyebrows, eyes, and whatever you can see beyond the mask.
So we've talked about wellness and we've focused very much about beauty, but beauty comes from within. And obviously we're starting, a lot of people have a lot more time at home and are cooking more at home. Are we seeing specific trends around food and beverage? alongside beauty, because people are, I mean, quite frankly, the pandemic is an extremely scary place to be. It's something that we've never experienced before, and I think my opening comments with regards to eating healthily, is there a view on trends around food, and is it comfort eating on one end, just to make you feel better at the end of the day, and that's to offset against eating healthily during most of the day to keep fit and to keep well nourished, and to keep your natural vitamin levels high, to fight off potential infections, etc.
So again, when we need to redefine wellness, first of all. So wellness is about, you said beauty from within, it's mental wellness, it's physical wellness, all of that. Lorna mentioned adaptogens, also nootrops, anything that has to do with cognitive function. A major trend in wellness is stress-free, which means that people want to reduce stress as much as possible. So this has to do with everything that you said about comfort eating and, wellness eating, because does it reduce stress? It could reduce stress because of, the anti-inflammatory and, again, nootrops, adaptogens, qualities of the food itself. It could also reduce stress because it's comforting, so that stands, to help us with the mental wellness, and also convenience food. We see an uptick in convenience food because people don't eat as much out of home, but they do have to find solutions to cook at home. They haven't become, chefs all of a sudden, and they do have to balance more things in life. So that's part of
the rise of the meal kit businesses, and where that's providing slight help. And restaurants, in fact, are creating or allowing consumers to create some of their famous dishes at home by providing delivery services on meal kits.
Right, so this is kind of a micro trend. It's it's more of a fad if we look forward. This is part of necessity. I do think that convenience eating and the mega trend that we saw before the pandemic of clean comfort food and clean convenience food, this is the major trend. Whereas meal kits, it is a niche. It has a lot of appeal. But the uptick that we see right now stems from necessity and lack of delivery options and lack of food availability, and the whole direct to consumer and meal kits. I do believe that this is just a phase. So it's a short-term trend in regards to the uptick, not the entire trend. It's another graph is what I'm saying. And yes, and so I think wellness versus comfort, I think they are both part of the same thing. And if we talk about comfort eating, it is part of mental wellness. If we are talking about classic healthy eating, people do say they want more fresh food. So fresh food could mean a lot of things. It could also mean fresh comfort eating. People don't look at macros and calories as they did before the pandemic, that's for sure. We see that keto dieting and keto recipes are really declining in Google search trends, for example. But the mega trend towards healthy, clean, plant-based eating is just rising. So plant-based can also be comforting.
So it's good to know that there's still room for a very large tub of Ben and Jerry's at the end of the day. Just moving on to sort of more retail related comments. We've been reading some reports, and I think it was WGSN as sort of in terms of trend analysis and future forecasting, suggesting that we've been talking about omni-channel retailing for probably the last 3 to 5 years. And that actually there's going to be a shift away from that omni-channel model, which doesn't really seem to have worked. I mean, retail was on decline before COVID, and COVID's just helped to accelerate, I think, what ultimately was potentially going to be the inevitable. But what's driving more towards is actually creating, and we've talked about experiential being important, but actually driving more temporary spaces where communities can connect. And it's not just look in store, buy online. It becomes a universally fully connected experience, where the traditional pop-up provides that opportunity for consumers to engage and purchase and live the brand in a 360-degree way. And I'm going to open it up to anyone that wants to pick up on that particular point to answer.
Yeah, I think there's definitely been a real boom in terms of the online space, and I think what brands are trying to do is to find what their non-selling relationship is with their consumer. I think there was a really interesting stat that I read, which is that 92% of consumers are still okay with brands trying to sell to them during COVID-19. But what they want from them is to have that social conscience and to also entertain them. So try and help them in something that they're struggling with, whether it be just a bit of light relief entertainment right now, or whether it be, providing some other service. So I think what brands are having to really pivot at the moment is to create that experiential shopping or branding experience for their consumers without selling being at the core of what they're doing. And I think, I saw what you were talking about, Hamutal, with the meal delivery services. Gusto, they recognised from some research that they did that one of the things that's keeping consumers' spirits up during lockdown has been eating dinner, and it has been eating with friends and with family, either that they're locking down with or virtually as well. It's a ritual we do every day, and it's something that was here way before COVID and will be here way after COVID, just eating your dinner. And so Gusto decided to do a dinner for 1 million, and they had celebrities all pick a recipe, and then you could cook it, and then the celebrities would entertain you from a virtual dinner party. And you didn't have to buy a box from Gusto to be part of it. You could buy it from your local supermarket, but it was just an evening of entertainment. And I think we're seeing more and more. Bumble, they did one recently, again, different celebrity each week talking about virtual dating and how people are having to date during lockdown and changes there. So I think people are having to really find ways of connecting with their consumers without it all being about, buy my product, basically.
Sure. So we've talked about entertainment. And we've talked about having a good time and these virtual dinner parties or these virtual gin and tonic catch-ups. But what are, on a kind of a serious note, and bringing this really back to COVID, what do you see CPG brands are doing to give back, not only to key workers and medical professionals, because I think we've seen that, but also to communities? And is this truly an altruistic move by the brand, or is it a carefully played out marketing tactic that hoping that the adage that the brands that do good will be winning at the other side of COVID? Hamutal, would you like to pick up on that?
Sure. So the search for purpose on the consumer side has been going on way before COVID-19. It's a huge trend. Again, according to many surveys, about 40% of worldwide consumers are looking for ethical and sustainable brands, and that's the exact share of consumers who look for value for money. So it's a huge trend. And if we look at millennials and of course Gen Z, the rates are way higher. They're around 70% who would prefer and would pay more for an ethical brand. So yes, this is a huge opportunity for brands. Are they being, you know, cynical and just taking advantage of the trend? It doesn't matter. I mean, consumers are expecting brands to help them become better people. That's what people say about brands. I don't care if brands think, you know, they should because they have ethical CEOs, which I'm sure, by the way, we see right now that many CEOs even gave up their own seat in order to drive diversity in companies. That's happening right now. I don't think this is a cynical move. But again, even if it were, it doesn't matter. It's the same end game. Consumer want that. Brands recognize it's an opportunity. They cannot afford to ignore social matters. Consumers will prefer brands who do better and help them be better people.
But in terms of safety, I mean, obviously there's a huge plethora of, I mean, let's take masks as an example, and there's a lot of mask development within the licensing community. From a safety point of view and a PPE point of view, Sally, the watch outs around that from a legal perspective could be something to watch out for.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes to something that I think Lorna was mentioning before in terms of kind of the fact that consumers will interrogate what you're doing. So, you know, I think a lot of brands have gone to say very quickly we're doing PPE, and that's a great thing, you know, in theory. But there are significant regulations around the supply of PPE that not only leads to potential misunderstanding with consumers, but also potential liability for the brands that get involved in it. And also when it can be interrogated by consumers through social media and other areas, that it kind of loses its credibility. So I do think people need to be cautious. You know, overall, I think, you know, I agree. I think all of our brands that we're working with are looking at, you know, the majority of them are looking at some kind of purpose. And we ourselves just launched our own business, Mishcon Purpose, because that's what our clients kind of want advice on. But you do need to be careful because consumers can interrogate what you do. And you know, it needs to be credible, it needs to stand up, and you need to be engaging with the right people and doing your due diligence, because your brand could be really damaged as a result.
Okay. I'm just conscious, sorry, Charlotte.
No, I was just going to add to that I think, you know, like we said before, especially that Gen Z audience at the moment, they've got way more time on their hands to really be able to research and do that extra bit of research than what you would normally do, to find out about how ethical your brand is, to find out about your supply chain and what materials you're using, and really make a more informed purchase. You know, rather than a spontaneous one. I think that's definitely something that we're seeing at the moment. And I don't think it's going to be as much about which brands are doing it right. I think it's going to be which ones are doing it wrong. I think they're going to come out like a sore thumb. And I think that right now, consumers are going to really build relationships and connections with brands. I mean, we're seeing a huge increase at the moment with the amount of brands that are wanting to work with talent, whether it be just for social media purposes or whether it be, you know, for an endorsement campaign, ambassadors. And they're doing that because they can use talent to tell their story, and to get that across and talk about the ethics behind it, and to have that more personal approach right now. So I definitely think that brands need to be really aware of that extra time and that extra bit of scrutiny that they're under at the moment.
Okay. I think the pressure from consumers is to have a role in activating change. So it's really about using your platforms to be a voice that's a positive voice for change. And that means things like dedicating email addresses for the community to email you directly and tell you how they feel you can do better and how they feel you yourselves as a brand and as individuals within your community can drive change as well. So we're seeing a lot of that too in beauty.
Okay, a big question. I'm just conscious of time here, but crystal ball moment. We don't know kind of how long COVID, the lockdown, and the ease back into whatever normal life looks like, and but any projections for food and beverage and beauty brands at retail post COVID? Are we picking up on any specific trends? Are we going to be looking again either the big swing towards still supporting some of the big familiar old trusted brands, as well as the community-based smaller brands, and again in beauty where there's a big D2C movement growing, and that's growing very quickly as well. But any sort of watch outs that that people would need to think about? Hamutal?
Sure. So I thought maybe Lorna wanted to pick that one up.
No.
Yeah, so we do see, of course, the shift towards local and handmade brands. This is a huge trend in beauty and also in food and beverage. We see Impossible Foods, for example, were unavailable for East Coasters, and now they started selling direct to consumer. Just today or yesterday, they reported that they've been the sales online have been exploding way beyond their expectations. So we do see that direct to consumer brands now have a huge opportunity, and once they do get into consumers' mindsets and emails, they can maintain what Charlotte said was a long-term relationship, which is, that's all about long-term relationship. Since, like I said, stress-free is the major trend, and people would actually choose to have their online shopping be reduced in time, and they do not want to manage, multiple carts and multiple websites. The bigger trend is one retailer, the shopping on Amazon or Tesco or whatever you're used to, and actually, just choosing the retailer and not the brand. That's the bigger trend. Right now, there is a window of opportunity for direct-to-consumer brands to really build relationships and maybe, use them later to leverage versus buyers and, retailers to enter regular retailer, or at least be part of the online platform of an online retailer. But generally, yes, we have the issue of trust versus the issue of emerging brands. And I think, again, because consumer recommendations and consumer reviews are really, really important, more than any advertisement today for consumers. This is a tool that will be used by consumers to really, address the trust issues, and will be utilized by brands, because you need to build trust. If there's a brand that consumers haven't heard of right now, they will be more, they will be looking for trusted brands because of COVID. And so I think that if you are a big brand, you should aim for a collaboration with smaller handmade local brands and just provide a platform. And so
build that relationship.
Yeah. And also, of course, I don't want to get into it because we don't have time and other people should talk. I just want to mention the issue of traceability. Traceability is also very important today. Where did it come from, and what was the path that the product made until it got to my face or my stomach? And this is going to be a huge issue as well.
Okay. I'm conscious of time. I mean, there are quite a few questions left on our panel list, but I think with only 10 minutes to go, I think
Daniel, there's actually a couple questions that came through for the panelists, if you guys like to, or if you'd like me to read those off.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Absolutely. So the first question is in regards to health and beauty. Are you focusing at all on brick and mortar outside of Sephora and Ulta for beauty? Thank you. Terrific panel.
Well, we have to go to the beauty expert for that one.
Yes. Sorry, could you repeat the question? You just broke up a bit there, sorry.
Oh, absolutely. So the question was, are you focusing at all on brick and mortar outside of Sephora and Ulta for beauty?
I mean, Target and CVS, in terms of building, we're a mass market brand, so those retailers for us are also playing a valid role at the moment. But predominantly, yeah, it's online retailers really where we're seeing kind of the biggest opportunity and the biggest growth.
Thank you. They actually just said thank you. Another question actually just came in, and just a reminder for the attendees, just be sure to send your questions in that chat question box for the panelists, and we'll be able to get them. This question is, how do you make wellness claims for either food or beauty while being careful about going too far? How do you keep up? I guess the last sentence kind of got choppy. How do you keep out real?
Can I take this one?
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so yes, it's very important not to promote the functional too much, because everything we do is indulgence first. And so I would recommend using cues such as vegan, which is perceived as better for you, organic, clean, again, ashwagandha, all of the adaptogens that Lorna mentioned that were very trendy. These are cues that promote some kind of wellness, but they don't talk to, we saw that reduced sugar, reduced salt really hurt the perception of indulgence. So we don't want to use these kind of wellness claims. It is indeed very important not to hurt the function or the need state that this product or service serves for us as consumers. So indulgence first, but do use cues, because there is a prerequisite of wellness. So everything has to be better for you now. So it could be, ethical claims are also, they have some kind of aura effect on consumers. They think if something is fair trade, then it's also, better for you. It's part of the better for all trends. If it's better for society, better for the environment, or better for me, then it's better for you. So
it goes back to your traceability point, and where blockchain may come in and actually create a trail of how a product has been made and produced, and if it's done with welfare in mind, and then that inherently becomes a lot more.
Yes, traceability is more behind the scene, and when we want to communicate to consumers, first of all, the indulgence, the texture, the feel. So we see again a lot of, it's clean, it has we see a lot of non-BS attitude, which is communicated to younger consumers, and that stands for wellness, to younger consumers. We didn't put any, parabens or whatever, or just unnecessary anything, and this is all clean, and you can eat what you put on your face, that sort of thing. This is wellness cues, and again, in food, it's very, very important, first of all, to communicate flavor. It's both a barrier and a growth engine for any type of new product or brand that wants to get into the market. There is a core consumer who will consume less tasty things for the benefits and for wellness, but that's a small niche. Most of the consumers want healthier food and are willing to sacrifice some of the indulgence and flavor, but certainly not most of it. So
okay, did you have your hand up, Lorna?
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to answer it from beauty as well. We actually use certifications quite a lot as a way to prove the standards with which we formulate. So, for example, we use Cruelty Free International to get a Leaping Bunny certification, which shows that we formulate to the best in class standards from testing on animals perspective. And there are many others. There's Cradle to Cradle, which also really certifies the sustainability of your product on many, many angles, as well as your business in general. And other things in terms of ingredients is formulating with ingredients that are included at a percentage level that you can claim, which has already been tested and verified. So lots of things like that within beauty that come into play in terms of the claims you can make.
Okay, I'm going to cut you off there. I think we've probably got time for one last question, Steve.
Yeah, there's actually, there's I'll do a question and a comment. A couple more came through. A comment, or just a kind of a comment from thank you so much for today, great panel and great discussions. But this question actually, how do you think the licensing industry will respond to the impact COVID has had on live events, performing arts, sports, and merch around these events? Thank you.
I think just from, I guess, the music side of things, that's a lot of what talent we focus on. We're seeing a huge trend of online concerts, and it's just shifting to virtual concerts. There was Compare the Market did a Meerkat Music. We worked with them on that, where Take That performed with Robbie Williams and got back together. And I think, we're going to see that trend continue. We're also starting to see things like drive-in cinemas that are launching now and experiences there. So I think they will continue. They'll just continue and adapt in a different way. And I think from the merch side of things, in terms of how that's going to be impacted, again, because of the digital shift that is happening, I think from a merch perspective, they need to follow that too. And that, D2C is going to be a big part of that, and working probably in alignment with the talent to get that merch communicated and presented to the fans. And also turning it more into lifestyle rather than merch around a particular concert or a particular event. I think it will become more about creating lifestyle products rather than your traditional merch.
And also an element of giving back as well. And I think that's been a common theme throughout everything that we've been talking about: authenticity, a true story. And I think the old Instagram economy is changing, and the narrative is changing around that. So I think certainly you're right. It's not just merchandise anymore.
What you'll see from celebrities more is them launching their own products, and more talent licensing coming through, rather than it being about their merchandise. I think, a lot of brands have used celebrities right now to try and fast track the fact that they might not have a huge social audience. They're turning to celebrities to do that. And I think celebrities are really starting to realize, the power that they've got. Rather than on behalf of somebody else's brand, they can create their own brand, and they can get
the power, but the expertise that they bring. And I think that's kind of some of the things that consumers are wanting now, is not just a famous face, it's actually the content that comes with that.
Exactly.
And the experience or the expertise that that particular famous person, or not necessarily famous person, but someone that actually knows what they're talking about and can offer consumers genuine content.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's going to be, that was happening anyway before COVID. We were seeing more celebrities bringing out their own products, and I think that's just going to accelerate it even more.
Cool. Well, we have 2 minutes left according to my clock. I know Sharon wanted to wrap things up unless we have any more time, but I'm trying to keep to our schedule. So please let me know.
Thank you so much, everyone who participated. What an authentic, sharp, and inspiring group. A big thank you to Steven Sparacino from Licensing International, who is sweating this out behind the scenes with us. Now what? So look for an email from us with a very short survey, so we can always meet your expectations and over-deliver. The email will also include all the panelists' LinkedIn profiles, as well as a recording of this virtual roundtable that is available for Licensing International members, and you can share it with your partners. Please contact me directly if your company is interested in sponsoring this exciting series. And most importantly, our industry has been impacted dramatically, and Licensing International wants to make sure that everyone is engaged and everyone feels supported right now. So go to our website, licensinginternational.org, and sign up for our e-newsletters, webinars, virtual roundtables, professional growth series, office hours, screen chats. Follow us on socials, slip into our DMs, whatever it takes. And I hope to see you all at Licensing International's and Inform us Licensing Week virtual next week. 2 of our current panelists will take part of Licensing University's agenda. I won't tell you who, so you'll have to just go and check it out. And don't forget to register for all the fun virtual activities we're hosting. There'll be a live workout with the NFL's Mark Ingram, the running back from Baltimore Ravens, licensing trivia, and licensing laughs with Marshall Mizrahi, the OG banter. The next webinar that will take place will be on June 24th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, titled 2020 Revision, Minding What Matters, with the principal and founder of Springboard Futures, Tom Marable. Be well, be safe, and stay woke.
Thanks a lot, everyone, and thanks for joining. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.